This year, November 22nd, marked the 62nd anniversary of President Kennedy's assassination. No one expected that on this day, tragedy would strike the Kennedy family once again. President Kennedy's maternal granddaughter, 35-year-old Tatiana Celia Kennedy Schlossberg, published an article in The New Yorker titled "My Battle with Blood," openly revealing that she has been diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia and has less than a year to live. The article immediately sparked widespread discussion. Tatiana's mother is Caroline Kennedy, the eldest daughter of President Kennedy and his wife, Jacqueline. She and her only younger brother, John F. Kennedy Jr., grew up constantly in the public eye and were regarded as America's royal family. At the time of Kennedy's assassination, she was only 5 years old, and her brother was just 2. Both children, along with their mother Jacqueline, received immense sympathy and attention from the American public. John F. Kennedy Jr. once navigated America's high society and was a rising star in politics. But in 1999, he, along with his wife and sister-in-law, died in a plane crash he caused, at the young age of 38. From that point on, Caroline became the sole surviving member of the 4-person family. She graduated from Harvard University and Columbia University, worked as a journalist and lawyer, and is currently the U.S. ambassador to Australia. In 1986, Caroline married designer Edwin Schlossberg, and the couple had 2 daughters and a son. Tatiana, who is now ill, is their second daughter. Tatiana was born and raised in New York in 1990. She graduated from Yale and Oxford University and works as a journalist and writer, specializing in environmental issues, with her own books already published. In 2017, she married George Moran, a classmate she met during her studies, in a grand wedding at the Kennedy family estate on Martha's Vineyard. In 2022, she gave birth to their first son, and in 2024, their youngest daughter was born. However, the joy brought by the birth of their daughter was soon overshadowed by her abnormal blood test results. According to Tatiana's article, the very day her daughter was born marked the beginning of the countdown of her own life. At 7:05 a.m. on May 25, 2024, Tatiana gave birth to her second child, a daughter, in New York. However, just a few hours after delivery, doctors discovered abnormal blood test results and suspected leukemia. Tatiana's husband, also a urologist, immediately contacted obstetricians he knew. At first, everyone thought the abnormalities were temporary, caused by pregnancy or natural childbirth. But soon, the doctors strongly suspected leukemia. What should have been a day of joy turned into a race between life and death. Tatiana was rushed to the emergency room before she could even hold her newborn daughter or see her eldest son, who had been brought by his grandparents to visit her. As the maternal granddaughter of the late President Kennedy, Tatiana undoubtedly received the fastest and most thorough testing, which confirmed a diagnosis of acute myeloid leukemia, accompanied by a third pair of chromosomal inversions, a chromosomal mutation associated with a very poor prognosis. She was informed that this type of mutation typically occurs in older patients and that standard treatments would be insufficient. She would require months of chemotherapy, a bone marrow transplant, and frequent follow-up treatments to prevent relapse. But what exactly caused Tatiana's blood mutation remains unknown. She could hardly believe she had blood cancer. She mentioned that just the day before giving birth, she had swum 1.6 kilometers while heavily pregnant. This young mother had always been a fitness enthusiast. She regularly ran in New York Central Park, covering 8 to 16 kilometers each time. Beyond running, she had competed in a cross-country ski race, completing it in just 7.5 hours. She also recalled raising funds for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society by swimming 4.8 kilometers in the Hudson River. Who would have thought that the boomerang would return to her years later? Fate can be cruel. "I was the healthiest person among everyone I know," she said. At the time of diagnosis, Tatiana had just turned 34. Since May 2024, Tatiana has endured an extremely grueling series of treatments: chemotherapy, a bone marrow transplant from her older sister, CAR T-cell therapy, a type of cancer immunotherapy, and more. During this period, she suffered a terrifying postpartum hemorrhage and nearly lost her life. Alongside chemotherapy and the bone marrow transplant came a devastated immune system, repeated systemic inflammation, fluid accumulation in her lungs and liver, and kidney infections. To avoid infection, she never changed her daughter's diaper, bathed her, or even fed her. I wasn't there for the first 6 months of her life. I don't know if she knew who I was, or if she could feel or remember that I'm her mother after I'm gone, she said. She lost 26 pounds and became emaciated. Yet even with extensive medical resources and cutting-edge treatments, the cancer could not be defeated. Doctors recently informed her that she may have only about 1 year left to live. Tatiana's husband stays by her side day and night, while her parents, sister, and brother take turns caring for her and helping look after the 2 children. She candidly said, "Throughout my life, I've always tried to do my best, to be a good student, a good sister, a good daughter, to protect my mother and never make her sad or angry. Now, I've brought another tragedy into her life and into our family. No matter what I do, I cannot stop this from happening." In addition to writing about her battle with blood cancer, Tatiana also directly criticized a relative, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the current U.S. Secretary of Health and Human Services and son of President Kennedy's brother. She bluntly called Robert a disgrace to the Kennedy family, accusing him of endorsing Trump and, after becoming health secretary, cutting many funds for medical research and healthcare. "These cuts," she said, "have directly prevented ordinary people from receiving routine vaccines and forced many new cancer studies to halt. The medication I needed for postpartum hemorrhage is now under review because of him. Every time I think about what would have happened if other women or I hadn't had this life-saving drug during rescue, it chills me to the bone." After reading Tatiana's article, some netizens commented, "Has the Kennedy family curse struck again?" But others said, "The Kennedy family is so large that just because something happens doesn't mean it's a curse. It's very sad. Tatiana's children will grow up without their mother. This also shows that wealth and power cannot guarantee what is truly necessary for our lives. Figure out what your priorities are. For me, it's faith, family, and friends." Some people mentioned Tatiana's mother, Caroline. Tragic, especially for Caroline. Her father was murdered, her brother died young, and now her daughter is like this. Money can't buy happiness. Her mother also died of cancer. Many netizens expressed deep sympathy for Tatiana, so tragic. She just gave birth and was immediately told she has cancer with less than a year to live. Life is so unfair. Poor woman. Only 35. Such a tragedy. At the end of the article, Tatiana wrote that she now lives one day at a time, unsure of when death will come or where she will go afterward. All she can do is pretend everything is normal and try her best to remember everything.